They refused to shake my hand, but once I stepped on that stage, they had no choice but to stand for me.
They didn't just ignore him. They refused to even shake his hand. For Malik Carter, that moment felt like the world was telling him he didn't belong. But what happened next, when he finally walked onto the stage, shut every doubter's mouth in the room. Before we dive into this powerful story, make sure you subscribe and share this video, because what Malik did that night isn't just inspiring, it's unforgettable. Malik Carter grew up in a neighborhood where dreams often ended at the corner store. His world was small, brick apartments, cracked sidewalks, and the constant hum of city life. Yet, even in that noise, Malik carried something different, a voice. Not just the kind that could sing, but a voice that could move people, lift spirits, and silence a crowd. From a young age, he was drawn to music and storytelling. Teachers noticed the way he could command attention in class, not by causing trouble, but by making words sound like they mattered. At community events, he'd step up to the microphone, nervous but determined, and within seconds, the room would fall quiet. He didn't just perform, he connected, but talent alone doesn't guarantee acceptance. The path to being recognized, especially in circles far from home, was filled with barriers. Malik was no stranger to side glances, to whispers that said, "He doesn't belong here." He had heard it before, in school, in competitions, even in everyday encounters where his presence was dismissed before he even opened his mouth. Yet Malik never fought back with anger. Instead, he sharpened his craft, night after night. While others scrolled through their phones or hung out on the block, Malik practiced. His notebook filled with lyrics, his voice tested against every beat he could find. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing respect. And soon, an opportunity came. A local competition that promised not just a prize, but a chance to stand on a real stage in front of real judges with a real audience. For Malik, this was it, the test that could either silence him forever or finally prove what he had always known deep inside, that his voice mattered. The night of the competition, the air buzzed with excitement. Backstage, contestants huddled in small groups, some laughing, some pacing nervously. Malik stood alone, hands tucked into his jacket pockets, quietly rehearsing lines under his breath. He wasn't flashy, and he wasn't surrounded by cheerleaders. He was just focused. Then came the moment. Contestants were called one by one to line up, and as they waited, introductions began. When it was Malik's turn, he stepped forward with quiet confidence and extended his hand toward one of the judges. The man looked at him, hesitated, and then pulled his hand back. The silence was deafening. Malik froze, his hand hanging in the air for a second too long before he slowly lowered it. A few of the other contestants exchanged smirks as if they had just witnessed confirmation of what they already believed, that Malik Carter didn't belong in this room. Next, the judge said flatly, motioning Malik toward the stage area without even acknowledging his greeting. Whispers broke out. Some chuckled under their breath, others simply turned their backs. Malik could feel the weight of every eye on him, not as a competitor, but as an outsider. That sting, the quiet dismissal, the public rejection, cut deeper than any insult. Shouted out loud, but Malik didn't flinch, not outwardly. Inside he was boiling, his pride bruised, his spirit tested. For a split second, a thought flashed across his mind. Walk out, leave, don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you stumble. And yet something stronger held him in place. He remembered every late night spent scribbling words into his notebook, every hour of practice when no one was watching, every moment he dreamed of this stage. Walking away would mean they were right, that his voice didn't belong here. So instead, Malik stood tall. He didn't argue, he didn't lash out. He simply waited for his turn, eyes steady, heart pounding, holding on to the fire that had carried him this far. Because deep down, he knew something they didn't. Once he stepped onto that stage, everything would change. As Malik waited in the dim backstage area, the echoes of the last performer rolled over the crowd. Cheers, laughter, applause. It was the kind of response every contestant dreamed of. Malik tightened his grip on the microphone in his hand, the same one that still carried the sting of rejection just minutes ago. The whispers hadn't stopped. One contestant leaned toward another and muttered, "He's not going to last 10 seconds out there." A few laughed under their breath. Even the staff members avoided his eyes, as if he were already marked for failure. But Malik didn't budge. He knew something they didn't. The louder the doubt, the sweeter the silence when the truth finally landed. Then the stage manager tapped his shoulder. "You're up." As he stepped out, the bright lights nearly blinded him. The audience, hundreds of faces, looked up with casual curiosity, some even scrolling on their phones, clearly expecting just another forgettable act. Malik could almost hear their unspoken thoughts. Just get it over with. The first beat dropped. Malik closed his eyes for a split second, inhaled, and let his voice out. Strong, steady, controlled. The kind of voice that didn't ask for attention. It demanded it. Within seconds, the casual chatter in the crowd died down. Heads turned, phones were lowered. The shift was subtle, but Malik felt it. Still, not everyone was convinced. In the front row, one of the judges leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, as if daring Malik to impress him. That was the same judge who had refused to shake his hand. His cold stare pierced through the performance like a final test. Malik pushed harder. Each word, each line hit sharper. The room was no longer just hearing him, they were feeling him. And with every verse, the tension grew thicker. Then it happened. A sudden pause in his rhythm, a deliberate silence that left the crowd hanging on the edge. And right in that breathless moment, Malik unleashed his strongest verse yet, raw, emotional, impossible to ignore. The room erupted. Applause thundered through the hall, but Malik wasn't done yet. Because this was just the beginning. The crowd's energy was rising, claps turning into cheers, and cheers building into something Malik had never felt before, a wave of respect washing over the very stage that had once seemed so far out of reach. But then it all froze. Malik looked up mid-performance and saw him, the judge, the same man who refused to shake his hand. Unlike the rest of the audience, he wasn't clapping, he wasn't cheering. He was leaning forward now, eyes narrowed, lips pressed, into a thin line, and in that moment Malik knew this wasn't over, because one look from that judge told him, "Prove it. Right here, right now." The spotlight burned hotter. The room seemed to shrink. Every beat of the track felt heavier, every breath sharper. Malik could feel the test tightening around him. The audience was with him. But would the people who mattered, most, the judges, finally see what he carried inside? And then, as the music built toward its final drop, Malik did something no one expected. To find out what happened when Malik Carter delivered his final blow, keep watching, because the next moment changed everything. The music surged, filling every corner of the room. Malik's heart pounded in rhythm with the beat, but his voice, steady, powerful, cut through the noise like a blade. Every line carried weight, every pause pulled the audience deeper into his story. And then it happened, one of those rare electric moments when performer and crowd move as one. The audience leaned forward, hanging on every word. Some rose to their feet, phones were now recording, lights glowing like stars across the hall. But Malik wasn't performing for the cameras, he wasn't even performing for the crowd. He was performing for that one man, the judge who had dismissed him before he had even spoken. Halfway through, Malik shifted gears. His tone grew sharper, more personal, as if he was speaking directly to those who had doubted him his entire life. He rapped about doors slammed in his face, about the weight of rejection, about people who laughed until he gave them no choice but to listen. Each word was a mirror, reflecting not just his journey, but the struggles of anyone who had ever been overlooked. The crowd roared, but Malik kept his eyes locked on the judge. And then, silence. The music cut, leaving only Malik's voice echoing across the stage. No beat, no safety net, just raw words, delivered with precision and fire. For a moment, the audience held its breath, waiting, watching. Malik ended with a final line that hit like thunder. "You don't have to shake my hand, because tonight you'll stand for me." The last word dropped, and the room exploded. The audience rose in a standing ovation, the kind that rattled the walls. Malik stood still, breathing heavy, sweat running down his face. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. The noise around him said everything, but the real moment, the one that would be remembered, came seconds later. Slowly, the judge who had refused to shake his hand earlier rose to his feet. At first, just standing, his arms still crossed. Then, almost reluctantly, he clapped. A single clap, sharp, deliberate, and then another. Until finally, his hands moved in rhythm with the roaring crowd. Malik's eyes met his, and for the first time that night the judge nodded. Not out of pity, not out of formality, but out of respect. It wasn't just a nod to Malik, it was a nod to everyone who had ever been underestimated, dismissed, or told they weren't enough. Malik walked off that stage with his head high. He didn't need a trophy, though he would go on to win that night. What he carried was far greater, the undeniable truth that respect isn't given, it's earned, and when it's earned, no one can take it away. When Malik Carter stepped off that stage, he wasn't just walking away as the winner of a competition. He was walking away as the proof that resilience is louder than rejection. The applause eventually faded, the lights dimmed, and the crowd went home. But the lesson lingered. Heavier than the music, more powerful than the performance, because this story isn't just about Malik, it's about every person who has ever been ignored, doubted, or dismissed before they had the chance to show their worth. Think about it. How many times have doors closed in your face before you even knocked? How many times have people judged you, not for your ability but for their assumptions? Malik's story teaches us something universal. That respect doesn't come from titles, appearances, or first impressions. It comes from showing up, standing, and tall, and letting your truth speak louder than their doubts. The judge who refused to shake Malik's hand didn't just change his mind that night. He was forced to. Because once greatness steps onto the stage, it can't be ignored. And that's the power you and I carry too. We all have a stage waiting for us. Maybe yours isn't lit with bright spotlights and cheering crowds. Maybe your stage is a classroom, a workplace, a small circle of friends, or even just within your own family. But no matter where it is, your voice matters. Your effort matters. And the moment you step into it with courage, you change the story, not just for yourself, but for everyone watching. So let Malik Carter's journey remind you of this. People may doubt you, dismiss you, or even refuse to acknowledge you. But when you rise, when you deliver, when you refuse to back down, the same hands that once turned away will have no choice but to applaud. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more powerful stories, like this one, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because every week we bring you stories that remind us what strength, courage, and heart really look like. Your voice has power. Your story has meaning. Don't wait for permission. Step onto your stage. The world is waiting.